Hey adventurers, so today is going to be our
July wrap-up.
Yes, and it's a little bit late. It's halfway through August already by the time we're getting to film this, but that's alright. It doesn't cause issues too much.
No. The first book I read was Batman Death of the Family. I was trying to get Batman Death in the Family, and I don't know how to read apparently. I don't remember who it's by, but I read that one. I didn't like it a lot, but I did like it better than Batman Year One. So it was more intriguing to me. I do want to read Death in the Family though. Still.
Okay, the first book that I finished in July was Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 of Mistborn Era 2. I listened to this on audiobook. Let's see. I don't have a review for this one up yet. I probably will sometime in the future, next month or month after or something like that, depending on how things go. I enjoyed it. I think I'll save my thoughts for when I do a review.
So the next book I read was The Elephant's Girl by Celeste Remington. I might have said her name wrong, but I picked this book up at the library and I saw the cover and the title. I was like, this sounds interesting. It was in the children's section actually, which is where many great books are, so that's not saying anything, but I grabbed it. I'm like, I want to read this. It was such a great book. It's about a girl who is looking for her family. There's ghosts, she lives in a zoo, and there's also this really complicated situation she has to go through with one of her friends that's very real to life, and it was just a really beautiful story. It referenced the Island of the Blue Dolphins a lot, so if you've read that book, I really feel like you need to read that book and then you should read this book, because if I want to recommend it, I'm going to say, hey, go read Island of the Blue Dolphins first by Scott Odell. So that was one of my favorite books I read in the month.
The next book that I finished was Soldrin's Garden, which is the first book in the Lioness trilogy by Jack Vance. This is a Arthurian adjacent, I guess, story you could say. It technically takes place before Arthur's even born, so I think even before Uther comes into power, but it's set on an island off the coast of Britain, and it's a very a very atmospheric story. It's Jack Vance, so it's also very confusing and very magical. It very much feels like a fairy tale written by a more modern author. I don't know when it was written, sometime in the last century. But it was really, really good. I'm going to continue on with the series for sure. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
So I also read Lock and Key Initiation by, Ridley. That's his last name. I can't think of the first name.
Close enough.
But anyhow, sorry, I'm really bad with the authors today. Normally I have it on the top of my head. Anyhow, it'll come up. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't remember if I talked about it in our last wrap-up, but I don't think I did. It was kind of like right on the end of the month. Ridley Pearson, also was the first name. Okay, it's by Ridley Pearson. It was really good. It followed Sherlock Holmes, and it followed Moriarty's sister. She was the protagonist of the story, but it was her perspective on Sherlock Holmes and her brother James as their children in Baskerville Academy. So it's taking a spin on the traditional Sherlock Holmes story, and it's set in more contemporary times, but it was really enjoyable, and I liked it a lot. I want to read more in the series.
The next book that I finished in the month of July was The Desert of Wheat by Zane Grey. I read this one I started it early in the month and didn't have a whole lot of time, so we went fishing. I ended up finishing it on the fishing trip, and so that's where I read this. Thoughts are not working today, but that's alright. I really ended up enjoying it. I do have a lot of thoughts for this one. I don't know where I wrote them down, but I wrote them down somewhere, I'm pretty sure. And it might have been on Discord, I don't know. But I have them somewhere, and I'll do a review for this book, and you can see my full thoughts there, some actual thoughts there when I read it, or when I review it,
So I also read Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I really liked the other book I read by V.E. Schwab, which was A Darker Shade of Magic. I loved it, and I wanted to read more of her book and her books. So I grabbed Gallant at the library, and it was good. I liked A Darker Shade of Magic more, but the world and the setting was very intriguing, and I liked the intensity of the story. It was very intense. Yeah, I don't know, it was kind of more of a darker style story, I guess you could say. But it had a fair amount, I don't know. It's hard to pick out because it's set and it's like intentionally dark. So I don't want to say it's not dark or it had hope, because that wasn't the driving force of it. The driving force was family.
And the last book that I finished in the month of July was The Bands of Mourning, book 3 of Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I was doing a reread of Mistborn Era 2 so that I could be prepared for the 4th book that comes out in November, I want to say. So I was rereading those to get caught up and make sure my mind was refreshed. So I listened to them on audiobook so that I could not focus on them with my physical reading because I didn't feel the need to do that. But I needed a refresher to remember what was going on, especially how book 3 ends, and all the intricacies of that ending and how that's going to lead into the next book. So I read that. I'll have a review for it eventually. It's going to be a while.
I also read The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. So this is my first read through of The Lord of the Rings. I've technically read The Fellowship of the Ring before, and I've started this one, but I got through this. I really liked it. My goal for this year was to actually read Lord of the Rings in the year of 2022, and I'm on track for that. I'll finish up the last one, Return of the King, one of these days. But there's some things I'm liking about it. The Fellowship of the Ring I did like better. I thought it was more engaging, and there was just more things that dragged in this one. Anytime there's actual action and stuff happening, like with the Palantir, that whole chapter with Pippin looking into it, that was super interesting, and I was very drawn into the story. But then it slows down for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages until something finally happens to someone else, and then it's interesting again. But like when it's interesting, I love it. I'm super drawn into the story. I'm super engaged. So I'm eager to see what I think when I finally finish it and have the whole series under my belt. Okay, so little did you know what you were getting into when you started this video. I read The Waterkeeper by Charles Martin. This was a book someone gave to me, and so I wanted to read it because they gave it to me. I hated this book with a passion like I've never hated any book before, or at least any book that I can remember. It started out with some weird like Christianity stuff. I'm a Christian and I know what I believe, and I know what I believe from the Bible, and there was this really, really weird interpretation of it, so that turned me off initially. And so like that could be subjective to people's opinion. Like if they don't have the same beliefs as me, I could see how maybe that wouldn't turn them off. But as the book goes on, it's still like very tied into what happened, and the main character is just getting lower and lower in my esteem by like leering at women all the time. Well, not all the time, just in one specific instant where it was completely unjustifiable, and like making people do things they didn't want to do, and having like this whole past, and he was a poor broken man, but he had zero emotions. But he had like a girlfriend, but he had zero emotions, which is like a whole like leading on thing in itself. And then the book ends, or it gets closer to the end. He murders his wife, but it's not murder the way they're not trying to portray it as murder, but it gets literally murder. He literally drowns her. And it's this whole weird, it's a Christian, like, oh, I guess it would be ordinance, like a church ordinance, except they don't believe in local church, and so it's not for them. It's different for who had the author, who whatever they were thinking. But the guy literally murders his wife, then he goes and like spies on his girlfriend and his girlfriend's daughter for a while with binoculars, and then the book ends as he runs off without telling them he's leaving to go rescue more enslaved people. And I don't know. I've never hated a book like I've hated that before, and I've probably spoiled some things for you at this point, so maybe we can put a flasher
I'll make
spoiler,
sure I put
okay.
a spoiler.
But I haven't hated a book as much as I hated that one. And I wanted to read it because the person gave it to me. I wanted to like it for them. I could not. It was awful. It was really bad. So, well, thanks for watching an Erudite adventure.
Yeah, I had a good reading month. Not by the numbers. 4 books isn't great by the numbers standard, but I basically had like 20 pages left of another book that I couldn't get it finished in the month, so it'll be in this month's wrap up. But it was overall a really good reading month. Got a lot read, even though I didn't have a lot of numbers.
I had, I think, 6 books this month, which is pretty good for me, and I did read several of them on audiobook. But I am pretty much through reading my bookshelf. I currently have 1 book that I own, which I ordered recently, that I'll get through. But because of that, you'll see me reading more and more random books or books from the library that I just pick up. So it's kind of fun to be moving in a different direction with reading goals, but that's also why I have no like hard copies to show you guys.
Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday. We have our social medias linked in the description down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know what you guys read in the month of July, even though it's a little bit late now. We'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. Stay well.